Gary Burghoff's journey into Hollywood started long before MASH made him a household name. In 1970, at just 26, Burghoff was cast in Robert Altman's MASH movie, playing the young, innocent company clerk, Walter "Radar" O'Reilly. Despite his relatively unknown status at the time, Burghoff's performance stood out for its natural sweetness and awkward charm. Radar's innocence, juxtaposed against the chaotic satire of the Korean War, became a key emotional anchor for the film. 2 years later, when CBS adapted the movie into a TV series, Gary was the only actor asked to reprise his role. Though initially hesitant about the transition from film to television, Burghoff was drawn back to the role, believing it could evolve into something even more complex. Little did he know this decision would change his life forever. The television phenomenon. When MASH premiered in 1972, it quickly became a television landmark, breaking new ground in how a comedy could balance humour with deep emotional resonance. Set during the Korean War, MASH aired at the height of the Vietnam War, and its audience immediately saw their own experiences mirrored in the soldiers' frustrations, absurdities, and disillusionments. Within this landscape, Radar O'Reilly stood out. His childlike innocence, combined with his uncanny ability to hear helicopters before anyone else, made him a beloved character. Fans adored his shy demeanour, his teddy bear, and his gentle awkwardness. By the second season, Radar was regarded as the heart of the show. Gary Burghoff had crafted a character so pure, so human, that he became irreplaceable to both the cast and audience. The strain of staying sweet. However, as MASH progressed, the pressure on Gary to maintain Radar's sweet, innocent persona began to take its toll. While other characters like Hawkeye Pierce, played by Alan Alda, and Trapper John McIntyre, Wayne Rogers, evolved into more complex, layered individuals, Radar remained steadfastly boyish. Producers insisted on keeping the character's innocence intact, and audiences expected the same every week. For Gary, the pressure to keep delivering the same performance, without the opportunity for growth or change, was suffocating. He began to feel boxed in, unable to explore the deeper aspects of the character. His natural instincts as an actor, which had once made Radar so endearing, were now at odds with the rigid expectations placed on him. Tensions on set, the struggle with fellow castmates. By the mid-seasons of MASH, tensions began to arise between Gary and some of his co-stars. The relationship between Gary and Wayne Rogers, who played the mischievous Trapper John, started to show signs of strain. Early on, the two had shared a fun chemistry, with Trapper teasing Radar, but as the pressure of long hours and creative disagreements mounted, their dynamic soured. Gary's commitment to perfecting each scene, sometimes asking for extra takes or questioning dialogue, began to frustrate Rogers, whose meticulous approach to his performance clashed with Gary's emotional method. The tension came to a head during a particularly intense scene rewrite where Rogers, in a fit of frustration, threw a chair. The crew froze, and the atmosphere on set shifted. Although both actors returned the next day as professionals, the emotional divide was evident. After season 3, Rogers left MASH, citing contract disputes, but many believed his departure had more to do with the mounting tensions, including those with Gary. Growing frustration with creative direction. As the show entered its 4th season, Alan Alda, who had emerged as the creative leader of the show, began to take a more active role in writing and directing. Meanwhile, Gary felt increasingly marginalised, as Radar's character remained stagnant. Gary longed for a chance to explore more complex dimensions of Radar, but Alda, who was focused on shaping the show's balance, often vetoed these suggestions. To Gary, this felt like a personal rejection, while to Alda, it was simply part of maintaining the show's unique tone. The friction between them, once cordial, started to erode. With the show moving into more politically charged and dramatic territory, Gary found himself stuck in a role that offered him little room to grow. He began to withdraw, spending more time alone between takes, sketching or playing his drums, and the camaraderie that had once defined the set began to fade. Gary's decision to leave. A difficult goodbye. By 1979, Gary Burghoff had reached a breaking point. The combination of exhaustion from the long hours, the pressure to maintain Radar's image, and a faltering marriage led him to inform producers that he wanted to leave MASH. The producers persuaded him to stay long enough to give Radar a proper farewell. In Season 8, the two-part episode Goodbye Radar would serve as the emotional send-off for his character. The writers crafted a touching farewell where Radar would return home to Iowa, following his uncle's death. However, Gary's desire for a more cathartic, emotional exit led to tension with the director Charles S. Dubin. Gary envisioned a dramatic breakdown filled with tears and emotional release, while Dubin preferred a quieter, more restrained departure. When Gary's performance turned out to be too theatrical, he admitted his mistake and agreed to reshoot the scene. The final version, where Radar quietly walks away as the sound of helicopters fills the air, became one of the most poignant moments in the series, and a fitting end for the character. The rumours and the real reason behind his departure. When the MASH episode aired in 1979, fans and critics were moved, but tabloids quickly spread rumours about Gary's departure. Some speculated that the cast had thrown a party to celebrate his exit, and others labelled him difficult, moody, and arrogant. The reality, however, was far simpler. Gary was burnt out. The relentless schedule of filming, combined with the constant demands of fame, had taken its toll. He had spent nearly a decade working on the show, and the toll it had taken on his personal life and well-being was immense. "Audiences think you have to be the person they see on screen," Gary explained. "The truth is, Radar was a better person than I'll ever be. Living up to that purity was exhausting." His decision to leave was not an act of rebellion or defiance, but a personal choice to reclaim his life, his family, and his peace of mind. Legacy and the rewriting of a story. As time passed, many of Gary's co-stars from MASH spoke warmly of him. Jaime Farr, who played Corporal Klinger, admitted that although he couldn't talk Gary out of leaving the show, he understood why he had made the decision. Loretta Swit, who played Major Hurlihan, reflected on the happy memories they shared despite the occasional tension. Alan Alda, once thought to be a rival, later reached out to Gary, acknowledging his contribution to the show and the importance of his role in keeping the show grounded. Alda tweeted in 2022, "Happy birthday, Gary. The world sends you love. Me, too." These gestures from his colleagues served to rewrite the narrative around Gary's departure. The so-called feud had been nothing more than two strong, creative wills colliding under immense pressure. In the end, Gary's legacy is one of quiet respect and admiration. A timeless legacy. Gary Burghoff's legacy as Radar O'Reilly lives on, not just through reruns of MASH, but in the hearts of fans who continue to admire his portrayal of a character who represented innocence, kindness, and empathy amidst the chaos of war. His portrayal of Radar remains timeless because it was built on truth, not artifice. He didn't chase fame or applause, he chased authenticity. Today, when viewers watch MASH, they don't see the tension or the fatigue that surrounded the making of the show. They see a young man clutching a teddy bear, reminding us all of the importance of compassion. Despite the struggles and rumours, Gary's legacy as an actor is one of quiet dignity. He wasn't difficult, he was human, and that humanity is what made Radar one of television's most beloved characters.